Hello, everyone. Welcome to Avaya's Healthy Aging Curriculum. I am Andy Anderson. My partner, Ike Allen, and I are teachers, mentors, and the co-owners of Avaya University. Avaya is the creator of over 1,000 books, films, courses, teachings, and other supportive resources. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Our fellow teachers, Sedena and George Cappannelli, are here today to talk with you about ageless living, the key to a healthy and committed life. George and Sedena are award-winning authors, experts on individual, organizational, and societal change, and co-founders of Age Nation, a company that offers education and engagement, inspiration, solutions for people who weren't born yesterday. I love that. They also are the owners of the company Empower New Mexico, a 501c3 that supports people and organizations serving vulnerable sections of our aging population. And there's about a million other things I could tell everyone about you, but let's get rolling. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Our pleasure, Andy.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Yeah. So how about tell us about Age Nation? How did this company that you guys started come to be?
A number of years ago, about 17 years ago, actually, Sedena and I made late in life and end of life passages with both sets of our parents. And it was an incredible wake-up call. I mean, we realized that in many ways they weren't ready to make the passage, both into later in life as well as out of life. We weren't ready to be their decision makers and caregivers. And the more we looked around, the country wasn't ready at all. There was no blueprint to follow for people. There was no natural place for people to go to get the kind of information they needed to do a wonderful job, either as the children taking care of or as the individuals making the passage. And so that was really the impetus for starting Age Nation.
Beautiful. Anything you want to add to that, Sedena?
Well, yeah, actually, we were in Florida at one point working with a great group of people who were consulting, and they gave us a ticket to Sydney, Australia, to the International Conference on Aging. And it was a real eye-opener, heart-opener for us. Huge. I ended up in a ladies' room crying, looking at those little tiles on the floor, just wondering what the heck are we doing in America? When, because all of the statistics we had seen, Singapore and Sweden and all these other countries were at the top of the list, and the United States was at the very bottom. It was really depressing. So George and I, on the way back, actually on the plane, made the decision. We had already, we had a couple of self-help books out, Crossover to Business, Say Yes to Change, and Authenticity. And we said, this is going to be our work. This is it. We're in the second half of our life. This is it. Let's just continue. And we co-founded Age Nation shortly after that.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you. And just so everyone watching is aware, you two have fabulous birds in the background. So if you hear them, just to let everyone know that is what you're hearing. Wonderful.
We never go anywhere without them.
Okay. Lovely. I love it. So thank you for giving us a little background on that. So let's also I'd love to talk about the purpose of the Ageless Living series. So what is that for people who are watching right now, and when is it going to air?
Part of our mission, as you reported in the beginning, is about inspiring and bringing information and solutions to people, both in the second half of life and also younger people who are inheriting the future. And over the years, we've been blessed to have formed really wonderful relationships with a lot of best-selling authors and wisdom keepers. And so for a while, we were gathering them together in live conferences. And then we realized that this demographic revolution is unfolding at a level that is much quicker than many predicted. And so, because Sedena and I have really extensive media backgrounds, I've produced and directed thousands of hours programming for television and the internet. And Sedena has as well, but she's also spent a lot of time in front of the camera. And so we decided we would go back to our large media base, and we gathered 20 other authors, and including ourselves, together. And we did 3 major events here in New Mexico, one at the Chemo Theater in Albuquerque and 2 at the Lenzik Performing Arts Center. We recorded 34 hours of video, live talks, interviews, Q&A sessions, and whatnot. And then we spent a year in post-production and have now delivered 40 episodes of the Ageless Living series. It's airing at the moment in 15 of the top 50 PBS markets in the country.
Awesome. Excited.
And it's coming to North Carolina.
Excellent.
And
that's right.
It's in Portland and Austin and Albuquerque and a variety of other cities around the country. So during the series, each author has 2 half-hour programs that run on consecutive weeks, and each deal with some of the most relevant and vital topics that we should know a lot more about in order to lead more empowered and valuable and thriving lives in our time.
So, like, what are some of those topics that our viewers would be interested in learning in the world of ageless living, of healthy aging, whatever you want to call it? Like, people watching right now obviously want to have some strategies, some tools to be embracing this journey, right, and not be resisting it. So, any suggestions you can share there?
Oh, sure.
Oh, well, the authors cover a variety of topics, everything from lifestyle, health and wellness, transition, relationship, money and abundance. We just had Lynn Twist. She was at the beginning of the whole series. Absolutely phenomenal woman speaking about abundance from a focal point that nobody's really heard. She's really an original. She's the one of the beginning people in the Hunger Project, putting billionaires together with impoverished people all over the world. We have a comedian who's a transformational comedian, and he speaks about incredible ways to change your life, really look at the truth of your life. And he says, he uses comedy as a Trojan horse to the heart. Kyle Cease. Gosh, we have so many. We have a performance athlete, Joseph Gagnon, and Barbara Marx Hubbard, who has passed away now.
Yes.
Who the evolutionary genius, and she's in our series. We're very grateful. It was her last appearance on television. And a wonderful woman, Anita Morjani, who speaks about past life. And what was her book? Dying to Be Me.
Yes.
And her story is just phenomenal. Wayne Dyer made her very famous on television. We have Greg Braden linking spirituality and indigenous cultures. Some really interesting ways of intersecting all of these different avenues of life that we're all, I think a lot of people are super interested. John Gray talking about relationships, Gay and Katie Hendricks relationship. The amazing physician,
Evan.
I'm going up on our
Larry
dear
Dawson.
friend, Larry Dawson, who lives in Santa Fe. Incredible people. I could go on. We have 22 authors and experts, so there's a lot of them. And a lot of subjects that people want to know more about. And it's uncovering it from a perspective of someone who's been in the trenches for many, many years, looking at these subjects.
The other thing I think, Andy, that's important is that a lot of your viewers and listeners have probably had the opportunity to spend some time either in workshops or in large conferences or whatnot with a lot of these or some of these speakers. But what's nice about them is that just as we're having this kind of an intimate experience on video, these programs are very intimate. They give people a chance to be very up close and personal with each of the authors. We also do some unique things in that we use an interesting on-screen approach where we select elements that they're speaking about and use them as kind of memory aids as the individuals are speaking. And our test audiences report that it really helps with retention. The other thing is that because the programs are only a half hour in length, and on PBS time, that's about 24 minutes of content, they don't overwhelm you. You know, a lot of self-help programs, because it's such a volume of information. Bruce Lipton, for an example, is another one of our colleagues in it. And, you know, he delivers so much information so quickly that you almost have to be sitting in the back of your seat just to let it in. And but in a 24-minute segment, people can really absorb that. So that's really if the live conferences were stage one, stage two now is the television series. Stage three is this really robust new web platform. Because as you know as well as we do, people have these halo effects. They'll go to a talk or read a book and they get all excited. And then the next thing comes along pretty quickly and pushes it off the table. And so this web platform will have interviews with the authors, Q&A sessions, coaching sessions, educational courses, podcasts, articles, a whole series of things that will help them take the topics that each speaker covers deeper and integrate that material into their own lives. And then the fourth stage is what we call the dialogue stage. So we've been experimenting with particular gatherings of smaller and larger groups of people who can get together, and using each of the episodes as a central theme, they go much more deeply into what does sufficiency, as Lynn Twist talks about, mean, and how does it apply to me, and how does it impact my world, and what as a group can we do in our world to make a difference. So those are the four stages of what the whole Ageless Living Initiative is.
That dialogue element that we have is so important. We just had one recently that was here in the community of Santa Fe, and people just loved it because it gives people an opportunity to have all of this great information using one of the episodes as a catalyst for the conversation, a conversation that you may have thought about, but you never had an opportunity to really digest it in a way from an expert, like somebody like David Suzuki talking about the environment, you know, incredible stuff. And then sharing what your thoughts are about it, what's your perspective, and listening and learning from other people. It's so important in our world right now. This is a huge passion for us to take this material and move it out into the world. And we're looking to have national dialogues, invite people everywhere to use the dialogue kit that we'll have on our web platform. And even in your family. My sister's going to do it when it comes to, you know, her area in the Bay Area, to her local PBS station, and just watching an episode and sharing it among the family, a group, an association, whatever it is. And in that way, we get this vibrant local community happening, you know, which we really need in our world right now.
Oh yeah. Talking about healthy aging, absolutely. Community is so key to the whole journey, I think. So there's a couple of topics that you mentioned based on the episodes that you guys have done. Money and relationships. Those are the ones that, of course, just like I think of, and they come up so much in my mind as it relates to healthy aging. Could you like share some of what you've learned throughout your own journey and your own relationship, as well as just like I'm just interested to know for our viewers, right? Like in the journey of ageless living or healthy aging or whatever you want to call it, like what are some tips for people on healthy relationships as well as a healthy relationship with money?
Well, I think that it's funny, when Sedena and I got married 22 years ago, One of the things that we used as part of our invitation was a quote by the poet. Why am I going up on his name?
Rilke.
Rilke. And Rilke says that relationships are the work for which all other work is but preparation.
Mm.
And
It's true.
and it is true. I mean, we mentioned Gay and Katie Hendricks, and I know that you've worked with Gay and Katie.
Yep.
And one of the things that Gay and Katie admit, which makes them both so humble and so accessible, is that they have made every mistake that anyone could ever make in relationship. And the difference is they've used those mistakes to bring into their world and to figure out what can we do not to make those mistakes on a repetitive basis. Right. So listening clearly is an absolutely essential quality. One of the things they talk about, and I can't say that I've yet arrived anywhere near at their level of mastery, is that they live in what they call a blame-free world. Mm-hmm. What they suggest is that blame is indeed a killer of intimacy. And that's something that I know I've experienced, and I know that Sedena and I both have experienced. So that's just one or two tips: listening clearly. I also think that it's important in relationships that people honor the passions and the interests of each of the partners. When that's done, I think it becomes a healthy dialogue. And when it's absent, I think people feel isolated from one another.
I agree with that. I think we need to, as a couple, any couples out there, or, in relationship, we're in relationship with the world, constantly interfacing. This appreciation of what the other person has to give, what kind of person they are. They have different likes than we have. So finding a way to, as John Gray talks about, if you're a woman, doing something that builds your oxytocin, be with your girlfriends, or, do something different that lifts your hormonal balance, and let your man do his thing in the cave, in the television cave, or whatever it is, and vice versa. Women really need to be heard. Sometimes we just need to talk. And so it's understanding each other from that perspective. And I also think we need to be able to shift our priorities. And what I've discovered with George over the years is to just really keep communicating. No matter what's going on, to keep saying, you know what, this is bothering me. This is not something that works for me. Can we readjust? Because life is always changing. It's a flow, and we're changing, and we can't always place what we're doing into the old structure. We sometimes have to put it into a new configuration. And so how can we change this? But we have to do it together. This doesn't work for me, so can we, that's an old thing. Can we move it into a new structure?
Right.
So it's being willing to do that. And that keeps you thriving, I think.
Honesty, I think we were watching an old Poldark episode the other evening, and there was this extraordinary exchange between the two leads who have been in marriage for a while at this point in the series. And there's just a level of honesty and intimacy that's created as a result that is shocking sometimes to the other partner. But ultimately, I think that there's a place inside of us that always knows truth when we hear it, And you also talked about abundance and money. Obviously, in a world that overvalues it tremendously, and most of us spend our lives ruthlessly pursuing it, it is a big challenge. I think it's only, however, when people are doing what they love to do, what their hearts call them to do, that they can deal more effectively, not always effectively, but more effectively with both the ups and downs, the ins and outs of the flow of money. And anybody that's been alive longer than a few years knows that there are cycles. No matter what you're doing, there are times where there is not quite as much flow as you would like there to be. And then there are other times without you're doing quite as much that there's far more than you need. Mm-hmm. And so I think one of the things that I really love about Lynn Twist, and audiences really love about her, is that she talks about sufficiency, and it's indisputable what she has to say, that the doorway to enough is never gotten through trying to acquire more. Mm-hmm. You know, it's acquired by being grateful for what we have and using our resources to the best of our ability, but always remembering that living a committed life, living from a place of passion, doing what we call what we were born to do, that is the essential thing that I think ultimately allows us to deal with all the ups and downs of our financial lives in the modern world.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate you guys both sharing about both of those things that I think are so heavily intertwined with our journey of aging on this planet, right? It's such an important thing to have relationships, and obviously we need food, water, and shelter, and yet, you know, all those different things as it relates to abundance and prosperity. So like, what do you want people to know who are watching or listening right now about aging? Like, from your perspective, what would you like them to know?
Well, I would say that
George.
I would say that age does not define us. It's really our individual experience, wisdom, and spirit that defines us, not age. And so, as a co-creator of the universe, we have the power to recreate our story. We can change it. As we were just talking about with money, we can open to the goodness that's already there. And that openness and flexibility to receive, to increase our receptivity, can really allow more to come in than the tightening the grip. You know, it's opening the hand kind of thing. So yeah, age does not define us. It's and also we can't really walk through or enter a new door while we're carrying something. You know, we can't open the door and hold all this stuff. So it seems like in our world right now, it's just time to drop these limiting beliefs about aging and what's really possible in our lives, and move forward and walk through a new door where we create new possibilities about our unlimited potential as really energy beings who happen to be having, you know, a human experience. We're spiritual beings. We're not going anywhere. We're going to continue in this unlimited universe. So that's the ageless part of it.
I also think there's a tremendous difference, Andy, between aging and getting old. You know, getting old is to become calcified, to become rigid, to become restricted. And that generally comes when people are not living their passion, when they're not meeting and dealing with the challenges that come their way to the best of their ability, when they, in fact, are not accumulating the wisdom that life has to offer us. So aging, on the other hand, is a natural physical process. For some of us, it appears to go quicker, based on genes and beliefs and a whole variety of different things. And for some of us, it appears to go slower, and we don't seem to age as quickly as others. But in the middle of it all, what truly matters from my standpoint is that what differentiates between people aging and getting old is, as a man by the name of Samuel Ullman says, whether we desert our ideals. you know? So if we're throwing in the towel, if we're not continuing to recognize that life is a school that we never stop learning in, no day, no week, no hour of our lives, then I think we age as well as we can in a physical universe. To live otherwise is to do an enormous disservice to this sacred passage that we're making. And all of our work really is encouraging people to remember the dreams that they came in with, to manifest them in whatever way is appropriate and right for them. They don't have to be on a national stage changing the whole planet. They can do it just in their own lives, the way they interact with the people they love and the way they're true or not to themselves and their own values. But that's the key, I think, that makes this journey either extraordinary or boring as hell, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, Einstein said, what was it, that you can live life in two ways. Either is everything's a miracle, or is nothing is a miracle. And so it's really our choice. How are we going to show up every day? We've been given something no one else has been given. I remember this when I was acting. When I would go for an audition, one of the ways that I would pump myself up is I'd go in the ladies' room, look in a mirror, and I'd say, you have something to give that nobody else has. And it's the truth. I wasn't lying to myself. I was telling the truth. And when I went in there, I went in with a responsibility to give that. And I just think that's, everybody has such a gift, that everybody to me is a blessing. Like I get something from them.
Yeah.
But we have to be willing to open and give it.
Beautiful. Well, I love it. I love it all. So here's a question that I like any other probably woman and many men have in the world of aging, right? Like so many of us get so wrapped up into the physical appearance, right? Oh, there's a wrinkle. Oh, I'm not as thin as I used to be. Oh, my hair is good. Whatever, right? All that kind of stuff. And I'm sure people watching right now can relate to that. I think it's a human thing. Any suggestions there for people, right? On not getting overly wrapped up into how we look as opposed to how we feel or overall health. Any suggestions?
Well, the first thing that I can recommend or suggest is that you can't avoid them.
Yeah, right.
No matter how often you do whatever, no matter how long you try, you're going to have wrinkles, you're going to have sags, you're going to have bulges, you're going to have all of those things because that's just part of the physical journey.
Yeah.
I think it's a question of what you focus on. We were told a long time ago that we have a choice of focusing on what's important or what's unimportant. And one of the nice things I think that I'm experiencing in my relationship or interface with younger people is they're a hell of a lot less concerned about some of the externals, whether it's gender, whether it's race, whether it's sex, whether it's whatever. And the quicker those of us who are getting older give it up and stop the nonsense and focus on what's really important. I mean, how many people have we met that in the first blush, we thought we wouldn't like them or they weren't our type or whatever. And over time, they've become some of our best and dearest friends. They've given us gifts that are incredibly precious. So my best advice is to stop the nonsense and get to real living. And the second piece I have is do whatever you can to live as healthy and vital a life as you can, whether it's diet or exercise or different forms of meditation and practice. All of those things extend lives appreciably, and meaning and purpose extends life on the average of 7 to 10 years.
Excellent. Thank you, George.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Also, I think a lot of it, for me, comes down to acceptance. that word, when I can accept everything, as it's a gift. It's just a gift. It may not be the gift that's wrapped in the package that I thought it was going to be, and it's a gift for me. So I really, every day, that's my big go-to word. Take a breath and accept this and just see what is the gift in it. We're conduits. I do some work with energy. I've been doing since 1990 that has to do with mostly Qigong, but I've integrated lots of different energy practices into it. And one of the things I work with is that I'm an energy body. I'm a conduit. And it's like a pipe or something that gets rusty on the inside. We have to let that water flow through. That energy has to flow through. So it's not going to do that if we judge. Judgment and, criticism and all of those things contract the pipe. It contracts us. And it contracts our hearts. So as long as our hearts are open, we're going to stay joyful. We're going to stay young. At whatever age we are, we're going to feel youthful. We're going to feel the energy of life running through us. And that's beauty. And when we look in the mirror, that's the beauty that we really want to see. And the beauty that shines through, we've all seen 80-year-old people, 90-year-old people that are gorgeous because this light is shining. Well, that's really the beauty that we want. And the wrinkles don't matter when you have that, right?
Especially when you look at people that have had 27 facelifts and can't even open their mouths anymore in an effort to try to be beautiful. It is sad. I mean, and it's also true, I think, Andy, that getting old isn't easy.
It's not for sissies.
Yeah, there really are. There are a lot of challenges that come with aging. There are losses of friends and loved ones and individual capacities and a whole lot of things. But like it or not, it's part of the journey. And if we want to, we read a book, it's not very good if we only read the first few chapters and then we close it. We never find out what the conclusion is or what the ultimate, end. So it's just part of the journey. Just part of the journey.
We're just lucky to be alive and talk about it. I'm sure all of us listening know about young people who end up with cancer or whatever. You don't have to be old. Mm-hmm. There's a quote I love. It says, never fear growing old. There are many who have never had the privilege.
Excuse me.
Right.
And
absolutely.
It's a privilege to be alive. Mm-hmm. And if you're able to say I'm growing old, my God, you're lucky.
Yeah.
You get to be alive to say that. So what are you going to do? What are you going to give and receive in this joyous day that you're co-creating?
Yeah, it reminds me of one of my close family friends from when I was a child, and still to this day. She had breast cancer at 30, I think, and stage 4, and almost died, and was able to, she survived, and it's been probably 10 years remission now, and she's doing great. And I always remember her saying, like, I will never complain again about a birthday, right? Like about having another birthday, and oh man, I just turned 40. Oh man, I just turned 50 or whatever, because right. She knows, right. That experience and near death for her changed her, right? And that there is that lesson, right? Yeah. We can all take from.
And Andy, what we're really talking about is ageism, mm-hmm. And ageism is rampant here in America, especially. Mm-hmm. If you go to other cultures, age is something that is much more integrated into life.
Honored.
But here in this land of illusion and the myth of youth, we somehow or another forget how the beliefs that we hold really limit us. And for somebody that's clinging tenaciously to what they think is their youth, it's actually causing them to age more quickly, mm-hmm. because it's embedded in all that is a fear.
Right. Yes.
And anything you think about and you talk about is what you're going to attract.
Mm-hmm.
Resistance creates more resistance. In fact, I believe resistance equals aging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go.
And I think that for somebody who's 22 and 24, we look really great.
You look amazing.
Yeah, see that? So anyway, but
Awesome.
But it really isn't about age. That's the thing. If we can get away from that, I look at it as it's like the new scarlet letter. Ages. It's there's nothing. It's part of our life. It's part of a full life.
Right.
And I'm so glad people are starting to wake up to it and not put their heads in the sand. When we first started our company, Age Nation, people would just go, well, why are you calling it that? What do you mean?
Don't acknowledge it.
I'm not aging.
Right.
So, it's get our heads out of the sand and just, jump for joy, that celebrate that we're alive.
And when people in America learn that not in the not too distant future, 50% of our population will be 50 and over for the first time in history, they understand why we call it Age Nation.
Right. There you go. Awesome.
And it really is for young people too.
Yep.
A big part of our mission is to honor the gifts and talents of young people and vice versa, and have that cross-generational sharing and amplifying of each other's gifts. It's so important because we can learn from each other and the people in between.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. You guys are awesome. I love your relationship, your dynamic, and I so appreciate all of this. It's been so much fun.
You dynamic.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you. So I want to make sure you get to talk about a gift you have for everyone, as well as an offer. So there's a couple buttons below this video, everyone watching or listening. You can click through on those to check those out. So could you tell us what those are?
Well, first, I think there's a free offer.
Yes.
And that offer is if we have a free ebook called Keys to Ageless Living. It's a really great book, and it's available with a click on the right button. And it's filled with a variety of insights and practical things. Each chapter has a primary theme, a series of practical things that people can do, some inspiring quotes from us and some of the other authors who are in the series.
We always include things you can do and make it interactive, so it feels like a coaching session kind of. And it's a way of integrating it again into your life. That's what people ask for after every conference. How do I get this into my life? What's the next step? And that ebook will have a lot of that. So your Keys to Ageless Living is the ebook. And it's on the Ageless Living series.
It's on with the click to.
So you just
Andy's
click
site.
through to that. Right.
Perfect.
And then we have a second offer, which is Say Yes to Change.
Yeah, it's Say Yes to Change. It's Make Change Your Ally, and 25 Keys to Making Change Work for You. It's an 8-week course.
Excellent.
And we've got a special price for the people watching on the Healthy Aging Network. And it's a terrific course. We hope you'll jump in and take it.
And it's the same thing. We were talking about age. Well, a lot of people are afraid of change. They resist it. And yet it's one of our best allies. It introduces us to all the things we do not know that we can and would be wise to learn in a lifetime. There are generally enormous surprises and gifts that await us as soon as we take our first step into something that's new or different. It's the source of fascination, of curiosity. There's an old expression that says, what does it say?
Curious.
Yeah, it says.
I'm curious to know.
Yeah, it says. I don't remember what it says.
You say it all the time.
Yeah, but it's about the fact that curiosity is the cure for boredom.
That's it.
And there's no cure for curiosity. Fortunately.
Excellent.
So like everything we do, as Sedena said, it's filled, this 8-week course, with things you can do every day, with things to think about, images to hold in your mind, physical things to practice. And eventually you get to the fact that lifting up your feet and moving in life just begins to be an exciting and wonderful thing. And we say to ourselves, what the heck were we resisting that for, when look at what shows up on the other side? New people, new opportunities, new experiences, new lessons. So that's what this course is designed to do.
Beautiful. I love it. That's so key. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because yes, every time I resist change, then yeah, like 2 days later, I'm like, what? This is awesome. What was I thinking? You know, it's such a human condition, right? So I love it. Thank you.
True, Andy. Yeah, we all do that.
And we can't avoid it anyway. We're either going to change in a way that is our choice and constructive, or we're going to change in some other way. But it's part of the ticket, you know. Punch a ticket coming in, you got to punch a ticket going out. And in the middle, it's change, wonder, and really spectacular things if we allow ourselves to have that experience. Like today, what a nice thing to spend an hour.
Yeah, right back at you too. So do you have any last insights? This has been a delight. I love you both, and such amazing messages. Anything else you want to share with anyone before we hop off?
Yes. There's another wonderful quote by Wilde, who says, be yourself because everyone else is taken. So not only be yourself, but be yourself enthusiastically, fully. Go for as deep and as far and as wide as you can go as a human being, and you won't regret a day of it. Not a day.
Thank you.
What's coming to me is another quote by this Indian sage. To grow is necessary, to outgrow is necessary, and to leave behind the good for the sake of the better is necessary. So that's change again. Sometimes we want to cling to something that we think, oh, I have to stay safe with this. I'm getting older. I can't trust that if I do that next thing, it'll be right. Growing into who we are is our task here. And yes, it'll end in this physical body. That's okay. But let's just use it all of our energy to be into this, like a rose, just continue to flower and bloom and grow into the best we can be.
Beautiful. Thank you both. I appreciate all of your work and for being here with us today.
Our pleasure.
You're terrific. Thank you very much, Andy.
Thank you.
Blessings, everybody.
Yes. And good luck with this series. I'm sure it's going to be spectacular.
Good luck.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for tuning in, for showing up for yourself. And we'll see you again real soon. Take care, everybody.